From the controversial tariff proclamation to the historic announcement of a meeting with the North Korean dictator, a lot to cover tonight. So let's get to it. Let's get some reaction from former presidential candidate and Fox News contributor Governor Mike Huckabee and the chairman of the Republican Study Group, North Carolina Congressman Mark Walker. Great to have you both with us tonight, gentlemen.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's start with North Korea first. Senator Lindsey Graham has this to say about this potential meeting now that we understand is in the works between the president and Kim Jong-un. He says, a word of warning to North Korean President Kim Jong-un. The worst possible thing you can do is meet with President Trump in person and try to play him. If you do that, it'll be the end of you and your regime. Governor?
Well, Lindsey knows, just like I do, we both ran against him for president a couple of years ago, and that didn't turn out too well. People underestimate Donald Trump at their own risk. Most of the time, he's playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers, and that's where they make their big mistake. He had two big things happen today. With the tariffs as well as with North Korea, in both cases, everyone who needs to be at the table, sitting down and making things better, he has their undivided attention. So when people say, oh, these tariffs are going to be terrible, I mean, it's already been very clear. He's exempted Mexico and Canada, so he's looking at this very strategically. And as far as North Korea, he's done something that no other president has done. He's brought them at least to the leash. Can we trust them? Don't know. But we're in a much better place than we were 24 hours ago with North Korea.
Well, and Congressman, this is what the president tweeted about this tonight. Is there now is reaction rippling into this announcement about meeting with Kim Jong-un? He says Kim Jong-un talked about denuclearization with the South Korean representatives, not just a freeze. Also, no missile testing by North Korea during this period of time. Great progress being made, but sanctions will remain until an agreement is reached. Meeting being planned. So what do you make of this? Do you have skepticism? Do you have faith in this process with Kim Jong-un? And what do you think brought him to the table?
Well, I don't have a lot of faith in Kim Jong-un. I do have a lot of faith in President Trump. Specifically, you could make even an argument that his foreign policy, as good as the tax reform, as good as the economy is doing, his foreign policy posture and his work should be heralded. We no longer have a moving red line. I can guarantee you we're not going to send a cargo plane full of cash ahead against any meeting with Kim Jong-un. The world is watching, the world is listening, and I believe the president deserves a lot of praise. I was over there not too long ago with 7 or 8 other members right there at the DMZ. And it is frightening. You look at a country, Shannon, Governor, that has been deprived of many of just the basic necessities. This is a country that left out God many years ago, and this is the end result. I can remember the soldiers literally being swallowed up by their uniforms, being malnourished. This is a very sad situation. This is a country that's violated human rights in most egregious manners. This is a great first step, and I applaud the president for doing so.
All right, so as we await that, we have it overshadowed a little bit what we were getting from the president today, which we knew were these tariff announcements, and now he starts the clock ticking on several days of which he says, listen, if some people want to modify or moderate their behavior to us, maybe we can work some side deals with them with regard to some of these things, specifically with Mexico and Canada. We're going to talk about this in the context of NAFTA, and maybe we work a deal with them. Now, there's plenty of pushback from Republicans, including on the Hill. Senator Jeff Flake saying this, I will immediately draft and introduce legislation to nullify these tariffs, and I urge my colleagues to pass it before this exercise in protectionism inflicts any more damage on the economy. Governor, what do you make of the backlash from the GOP?
Well, I think it's a different thing between Jeff Flake and the GOP. He's closer to the Democrats these days than he is the GOP. He's going out. He's got about a 20% approval rating, and this explains why. He still doesn't get it. He's not president. He's not even going to be senator much longer. But let's look at the facts. We've had a trade imbalance. Our steel industry has taken a gut punch. This is a president who understands that men and women in this country who help us create our own weapons of self-defense need to be able to do that. If a country can't feed itself, fuel itself, and fight for itself, it isn't going to be free. And part of fighting for itself is being able to manufacture your own weapons, your own military hardware. You can't do it if you don't make your own steel. You're going to be held hostage. This president understands that. Thank God he does.
Well, and Congressman, I know that you all have talked about the fact that you're concerned about these tariffs as well, the RSC has, but you also want aggressive protection of U.S. jobs. So how does or doesn't this tariff framework fit in with that?
Yeah, I think the president has been very consistent, not just since he ran for office, but for decades, being concerned about going after the bad actors and rogue players. I applaud him for doing so. I do have a little bit of concern. For example, I can give you one prime piece of evidence here in Greensboro, North Carolina. The VF Corporation headquarters are right here. We have 25,000 jobs in the U.S. The EU has already threatened to add 25%, specifically on Wrangler jeans and other products. What we don't want is to get into a trade war. I was very delighted to see the president certainly working and meeting with different players and different people. I think it's trending the right direction. We have every right to make sure that these trade deals are fair, that we don't end up with a deficit, but I want to make sure that it doesn't have some kind of backlash approach like we saw in 2002, when under George W. Bush, specifically the steel tariffs, it did increase some jobs, but it cost many more that were connected with the steel industry. I believe there is some caution here, but I hope the president continues to work with those who have maybe some experience in this, but I think his heart is in the right place. This is what he campaigned on, and we certainly applaud him for being consistent.
Yeah, and it sounds like there is some wiggle room and some negotiation that will be ongoing with respect especially to some of our allies. Congressman Walker and Governor Huckabee, great to see both of you tonight.